Yes, my friends, two big stories to discuss today. We discuss the latest updates and reports around Moises Caicedo, and we discuss the breaking report of this afternoon. We are holding talks with Villarreal over 21-year-old Senegalese forward Nicolas Jackson. Right now, my friends, tons of exciting things to break down and discuss. Of course, I'm going to give you guys the player analysis behind Jackson so you can understand who he is, how he plays, and what to potentially expect from our new forward for next season. So today, let's try and get at least 3k likes, and of course, share your thoughts and opinions below. Before we get into anything, I've got one big announcement to make first. Today's news video is sponsored by Chelsea's official betting partners in Parimatch UK. Parimatch UK are currently offering new customers the opportunity to get £20 in free bets when you bet £10 with their sports welcome offer. Now, to claim this promotion, you must create an account and opt into this promotion, make a deposit via debit cards, and place £10 on any sports market at even odds or greater. Now, don't forget this year, you must do this within 7 days of registering an account. So my friends, all the links you are going to need are going to be provided below in the description. Thank you to Parimatch UK for sponsoring today's video and getting back into the news. As we all know, the striker market is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and of course our number one option in Victor Osimhen, that could be a very difficult and maybe impossible move to pull off during this window. Now, there have been some interesting rumours coming out from Italy today suggesting that us alongside Paris Saint-Germain are the only clubs that have made concrete inquiries over the valuation for Osimhen. Now, we know that De Laurentiis dropped the value of Osimhen from 150 million euros to 120 million, but at the same time, that's a crazy amount of money. We don't have Champions League football, and of course, we must sell if we have any hopes of even signing him. So I think based on just how difficult a move like that is, I'm not even expecting Osimhen to leave Napoli this summer. I think that could be a move for next season. Regardless, we have been holding meetings with Dusan Vlahovic. Juventus want to sell him on a permanent for around 65 million. Still a ton of money. Players like Højlund of Atalanta have been options too. And today, we even got some interesting confirmations around Tammy Abraham. Now, as we know from a few months back, we were potentially assessing Tammy as part of the shortlist based on the fact that you could sign him for a very decent fee this summer. Now, he has experience with the club, the league, etc, and he has improved as a player too. But now that he's injured and he won't be back until at least Christmas time, literally devastating news for Tammy. Really poor timing. But now it's creating a situation where we need to sign a striker, and this afternoon in steps some breaking news around Nicolas Jackson of Villarreal. Now, this report first came from the Evening Standard, and it was later supported and confirmed by Fabrizio Romano and, most importantly, Matt Law. So you know that this isn't fake news. Right now, we are holding talks with Villarreal over exercising his release clause, which is set at around 35 million euros, which is around 30 million pounds. Now remember, talks don't guarantee that we're set to sign him, but it does guarantee that we are officially interested in trying to make a move happen now. I kind of feel like this is typical Chelsea fashion where we have all these crazy number one targets we want. We can't get them due to various reasons. And then we have to start getting creative with solutions that we can find on the market. And when it comes to Nicolas Jackson, I think this is a very interesting and potentially smart move on the cards. But of course, I've got a ton of opinions to give. But right now, let me give you guys an understanding behind his game, his strengths, his weaknesses, and what to expect from him if he does end up signing for us for next season. Now, Jackson ended La Liga in very impressive fashion. I think in the final 8 games, he got 9 goals and 2 assists. Normally when players end the season well, they tend to start the new season with that same type of form. But for me, the most impressive thing about his goal scoring is the fact that, of course, Gerard Moreno, an accomplished European class striker, has been suffering injuries at Villarreal, and Jackson had big shoes to fill. All the goals that he scored near the end of the season were match winners, and these goals basically meant that Villarreal were able to secure European football for next season. Now, what's crazy is that Jackson was set to sign for Bournemouth last January for around 23 million until he failed his medical right near the end. So this ended up being a massive blessing in disguise for Villarreal, where they would have lost Moreno, then they have no one up front to help them. And we have to remember that this is a very accomplished Villarreal team. They play a 4-3-3, 2 exciting wingers and Yeremy Pino, of course Lukwezi as well too. And then you have Nicolas Jackson playing as that complete forward style striker in between two wingers in a 4-3-3. Now, I mentioned the fact that I see him as like a complete forward, and that's because this guy is quite versatile in terms of how he attacks and plays. For example, he's 188 centimeters, so he has a very good frame, and he actually grew a bit more this season. He's someone that can run the channels. Most importantly, he is someone that can bring some verticality into your game because he is accomplished at pinning back defenders. Like, he can hold them off, he can challenge for aerials, and you know what? I've always felt like when I've watched us play these past few years, if we had a striker like that could relieve that type of pressure away from the team, where if guys under pressure in our own half, they have an outlet in the final third, a quick, direct vertical pass over the opposition's midfield, and then you have a guy and then right there, your kick sign attacks just like that. So I understand the type of profile of forwards that the club's looking towards. In a sense, is he like a cheaper man's or like a younger version of Osimhen? I can see those comparisons, to be fair with you, because of course, he's very explosive, very fast. He's good at taking his man on. He's a striker that can fashion opportunities for himself too. He has aerial presence. He can help us defend set pieces, which is a very important thing. And as I said earlier, Villarreal used like two attacking wingers with like a number 9 in between them. I think that's something similar we're looking to build for next season. But of course, now that you guys have like an understanding about like his strengths and the profile of his game, that doesn't necessarily equate to the fact that he is like one of the best strikers in the world right now. For a guy that is good aerially, he only scored 2 headed goals last season. He can improve in that factor. He can improve in his composure a bit more. Of course, sometimes he can drift in and out of games at times. It's normal, it's natural. This season was really his breakout season at Villarreal. He came through their B team. He was signed from Casado something in Senegal. This is a striker that they've been molding and working with over the past few years, and he really exploded this season. So now that you guys have a brief understanding about his game, how he plays, I'll give some thoughts and opinions. And it's a funny one, right? Because obviously if we can't sign a top forward this window, which I think we all kind of expected, Todd Bowley, Egbali, the boards, they hired some of football's best experts and minds, and I kind of feel like this is their territory right now. It's, display their qualities, all the amazing players that you were finding at Brighton's and elsewhere and Leipzig's. What solutions can you find for us? For me, we must explore this type of creativity to find solutions in our team. But also at the same time, I could have sworn we also have 2 other strikers around the same age in Armando Broja and, of course, David Dacho Fofana. Now, in the case of Fofana, obviously he's quite raw. He came from the Norwegian league, but we all saw his game against Southampton. Tactically, he wasn't the right fit, but in terms of his overall performance, it was quite promising. 6 take-ons completed? He nearly scored. He was looking to take on the opposition and drive forwards. A very positive performance from him. If we sign Nicolas, is this confirmation that Fofana might get a loan move for next season? And obviously, we can't forget Armando Broja. Now, right now, this guy's recovery is going incredibly well. He's come back sooner than expected. He should be taking part in pre-season. Pochettino likes and admires him too. And we can't forget that last summer, lots of European competition class teams were actively chasing him and trying to sign him. A lot of the qualities that I discussed around Nicolas Jackson also reflects around Armando Broja too. You know how I feel about this, you guys. I feel like we're hedging our bets. We're casting the net wide. We want to have as many top options as possible, and then hopefully one of these guys breaks through. But I've always felt like players that get more focused type of development plans, they end up doing a lot better. So that's one way in which I'm a bit disappointed by this news. But on the other hand, maybe from the club's perspective, they're seeing it like this. Fofana costs us 10 million. Broja's here on a free. We could sign Nicolas Jackson for around 30 million. And in that sense, you have 3 incredibly exciting under 22 strikers that cost you a combined total of around 40 million pounds. So even if one of these guys didn't make it, or 2 of these guys didn't make it, if one of them does make it, they're going to totally eclipse that original investment that we spent to sign all 3. On top of the fact that you'll probably sell some of these guys and still bring in more money. So it's a very interesting type of plan, but should we have some faith now behind the transfer team, the scouts, the technical advisors, etc., etc., This is their territory right now, and this is exactly why they were hired to begin with. So they're my thoughts and opinions. Share yours below. How do you guys feel about this news? Let us all know. Right now, let's end things by discussing the latest updates around Moises Caicedo. Now, typically, when top potential players start to fulfill that potential, they start reaching levels and heights where if you want to sign them now, you gotta talk to them nice. Right now, Casado is one of the hottest defensive style midfield players in Europe right now, with clubs like Man United coming out from nowhere now being interested, courtesy of the Athletic, Arsenal, and even Bayern Munich holding potential discussions around whether he's the right move to make for them this summer. And we can't forget that Liverpool are still casting their eyes around him too. Now, you like to think that with Arsenal feeling quite confident around signing Declan Rice, a player that I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit disappointed that we haven't made any attempts to try and sign him. I feel like that's the type of holding six that we need for guys like Enzo and others in the team. Regardless though, Casado, of course, he understands the attention around him right now. And in terms of where he sees his future for next season, he's very flexible and he doesn't have any clear favourites at this point in time. But he does like the fact that he could be playing Champions League football for one of them, which could potentially work against us. Now, how strong does he feel around that? We're not too sure just yet. One thing we do know is that if Arsenal in particular or any club makes any bid for Casado, we've told Brighton that we will match any bids placed. So it gets you thinking, what exactly is taking so long to make an official bid? Now, one thing that I've been really stressing this summer, we can't forget the importance behind selling players, getting that money and reinvesting it back in the team, right? And right now, I guess the clear favourite to be leaving us is Mateo Kovacic. We're still waiting for that Man City official bid, but technically the only official bid we've received for any of our guys has been offers from Brighton for Levi Cole. Right now, they're coming back with a second bid of around £40 million. Now, as we know, Cole is part of our plans for next season. Pochettino wants to work with him and Cole wants to come back. But reporters are suggesting that Brighton aren't feeling put off and they're kind of feeling a little bit encouraged to keep coming back to make moves. Now, that doesn't imply that Cole is putting out like fake hope and confidence, but I'm starting to feel like they understand that we must sell before we can buy. And they also understand the amount of interested parties in Casado. The longer we delay things, the bigger advantage our competitors have for Casado. So could Brighton see themselves as saviors in that sense, where it's like, okay, you've let us sign Cole for 40-50 million. Of course, we'll give you the first tips now on Casado, and then we take things from there. I can see what Brighton might be thinking and attempting, but at the same time, we also know that Cole has big plans here for next season, and the club don't want to sell him. But I guess we won't get the official clarity and confirmation until we keep rejecting more offers from Brighton. So right now, my hope is that we can start selling some players at least. Of course, Kante's set to go. But we're receiving no fees for him. Of course, Lukaku, Koulibaly's, Kovacic's. These are the guys that can generate us some big money in this window. And let's hope that some of these guys get moved on ASAP. So my friends, on that note, that is the latest news and stories today. Share your thoughts and opinions. How do you feel about Nicolas Jackson? Really let us know below. And on that note, I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.